If you ever think you're going to go to a Pick-Me and have a woman-to-woman talk about her waist match, she's going to tear you up. Hello neighbors, today we're going to talk about the Pick-Meshas, the Pick-Me-Lings, the Pick-Me-Kenzies, the Pick-Majinders, and the Pick-Manuelas, and all of our Pick-Me friends. We're going to break down their antics so we can easily spot them and pick them out of our lives. It's very important that we remove this type of distraction because they are detrimental to our growth, our prosperity, and they create mental setbacks when it comes to building value in self. So let's get into it. First and foremost, I am Rochelle, your neighborhood astrologer, and I help women increase productivity and decrease distraction using timing and favor given to us through astrology and spiritual energy so we can get things done and manifest our best life. So let's have a casual or not so casual conversation about how detrimental Pick-Mes can be should you have a Pick-Me friend. Now, I use friends loosely because Pick-Mes rarely have true friendships. They usually see their friends as the odds. So we're going to start this chat by defining what is a Pick-Me. So Pick-Me is a colloquial term or slang of a person, typically a woman, that seeks validation and attention from men by any means necessary. And they position themselves as unique or better than another woman. They often do this by highlighting traits they believe position them as better, such as I can cook better, I spoil my men, I uplift my men. These other girls don't. And they display behaviors such as I'm more feminine, I'm more submissive, I don't interrupt my man when he's talking. Or they'll share interests that really aren't their interests, but they believe that the man would like that, such as, ooh, I love sports, or I love watching my man game, or my man doesn't have to do anything in the house. I think you get the gist by now. They act in a way that is exaggerated or inauthentic, all for the male gaze. While one of the main selling points of a Pick-Me is that they act in super duper feminine ways, don't be tricked by this. At the core of a Pick-Me, they are highly male identified. They are willing to sabotage the integrity of womanhood, even if it's at the expense of themselves. Pick-Mes are willing to put the needs of women in the back seat just to appease men, even if it comes at the expense of their safety, their security, their mental, financial, and physical needs. So let me break down the characteristics commonly associated with the Pick-Me mentality that you should look out for in your friendship group. The first one is seeking validation. A Pick-Me constantly seeks validation and approval, especially from the members of the opposite gender. They go through great lengths to gain attention and compliments. Now, the need for validation and wanting to be liked is a normal human desire. For instance, children, they need validation to feel secure, to feel loved. And spouses, they need validation to ensure that their relationships are progressing in a healthy manner. But the validation that a Pick-Me needs is very extreme in nature. And it's often at the expense of other women, and it creates toxic behavior and corrupts the integrity of friendships and relationships. You can see this in your Pick-Me friends when they start posturing for the male gaze. Have you ever been out with your friends and their whole demeanor starts to change as soon as a man enters the room? Their body becomes more suggestive. Their voice becomes more high-pitched. And if you're the one that's getting the male gaze, they'll start to clown you a little bit, taking little digs. And at first, it's going to look kind of like innocent. But when you really start to analyze it, you'll see they're trying to downgrade you to make you look less desirable for the man that has entered the chat. The posturing that they start to engage into is meant for them to be picked while downgrading you so you're not picked. So while we're on the topic of downplaying, let's get into our second characteristics of a pick-me. So number 2 is downplaying other women. Now, a way for a pick-me to stand out is to make negative comparisons to other women. They always try to imply that they're not like other girls. Or you're going to find them sharing that they have qualities that make them more superior to other women. You may even see them resorting to bringing up a negative experience or a past negative experience of their friend just to embarrass their friend in front of the man. The pick-me behavior is very, very strange. You may find like out of nowhere, they start talking about situations where they handle the situation with their man that appease that man, and then they'll throw in, oh, other women don't do that. They always try to be on a different level than another woman and position themselves as such because they want to be picked. Pick-mes are not above shading their friends. They will shade their appearance, they will shade their personality, they will shade their attire if a man is present just to position themselves as better than. For the unknowing friends, they're gonna find they're gonna be in situations where they have an inside joke with their pick-me friends, and their friend will like be embarrassed by it because they want to come off like, oh, I'm classy, what are you talking about? Or, oh my God, that's so uncouth. Like, what are you really referring to? They always try to position themselves as better, and if you bring up something that is an inside joke, but maybe not so savory, they'll pretend like they know nothing about it, and they're surprised at the fact that you brought it up. Meanwhile, they kiki about it in private. So let's move on to characteristics number 3. Performative actions. A pick-me often engages in performative actions. They'll pretend to have interests or hobbies in something that they believe that the opposite sex really likes, just so that they can get attention from this person. This is the woman that will meet an aspiring rapper and start dancing real hard to his mixtape like it's the hardest thing she ever heard. Meanwhile, the man sounds like he's SpongeBob mumbling on a mic. This is the person that switches it up every time she's with a different man. If she meets a man on Tuesday that's into gaming, on Wednesday she'll stock up her house with video games and pretend like she's been gaming for years. On Thursday, if she meets a man that's Muslim, on Friday she's throwing away that effing dress and she's gonna put on some humble attire tossed with a hijab. If she meets a man on Sunday that said the key to his heart is through his stomach, my girl with her non-cooking self will go to Cheesecake Factory, plate that food as if she cooked it, and present it to him on a Monday. She does not impress the man with her authentic self. She will impress him by what she believes he desires in a woman. Which brings us to that big letter S. Number 4 characteristics is submissiveness. One thing a pick-me loves to do is to be submissive to a man whether he knows how to lead or not. See, these types, these pick-mes, they love to present as a boss when they're around their girlfriends. But once there's the male gaze, they have suddenly become more accommodating, more submissive. They believe that being submissive is more appealing to the male gaze. They don't mind suppressing their own opinions as long as they present a submissive demeanor to be picked. The pick-me will be agreeable to whatever her man wants, whatever her man says, even if it's detrimental to her. If her man thinks that she should not hang out with her friends, you're never going to see her again. If her man believes that women should not go out alone, best believe he's going to show up every time you try to plan a girls' night. She will become a shell of herself while trying to convince you to do the same. So let's skip over to characteristic number 5. Overemphasis on appearance. Now this one is a tricky one. Appearance is important, and a healthy self-esteem will ensure that anyone will put value time into their appearance and make sure they're on point. However, with a pick-me, there is an overemphasis on appearance, and it's tailored to what the man wants, even if it's not aligned with her own personal style. That's not in all cases, but it's typically the case. If they think that men like women with bigger lips, they're going to run to that Medi Spa and fill up with some Jupiter. If they see that men like mini skirts, what are they going to do? They're going to hike up that skirt, even if it makes them feel uncomfortable. They're not above getting surgeries just for the men in their life, even if it's something that they're not comfortable with. Anyways, for more about that topic, check out my video on low self-esteem and the afflicted Venus. It highlights the overemphasis on appearance and insecurity, which leads me to my sixth pick-me characteristic, insecurity. A pick-me, more often than not, suffers from deep-rooted insecurity, which leads them to seek validation in hopes of building some semblance of self-esteem. This is very important to note. Insecurity is one of those emotions that is often hidden and harder to detect, especially if the person has an overemphasis on appearance. They may look super well put together, but that insecurity is eating them alive inside, which is why external validation is super important from men. Insecurity in women makes them super susceptible when it comes to advocating for dangerous and even manipulative men. This is the woman that will tell her friends to stick it out with that man, even if he had cheated on her, lied to her, beat her, because their reasoning is you don't want to give the other woman the upper hand. Meanwhile, this man is creating deep insecurity in her friend, destroying her friend mentally. She wants you to be on her level in terms of how she really feels about herself, and have your self-esteem so low it's impossible for you to thrive. So let's get into our seventh characteristics of a pick-me, which is misdirected hurt. You're not going to pull a hello, may I speak to Barbara? Barbara, this is Shirley on a pick-me. If you ever think you're going to go to a pick-me and have a woman-to-woman talk about her waist match, she's going to tear you up. This person rarely addresses or confronts the real source of her pain. If their man cheats or lies to them, they'll often find the woman to attack and blame. And that is at the very least. If they can't find a woman to attack, they will turn against themselves. They'll essentially become the woman to be attacked. They will blame themselves. They will blame themselves for the actions of the man cheating or misusing them. And they'll often overcompensate to ensure that the man doesn't act badly again. Alright, so we're getting through all the characteristics. We are heading over to characteristics number 8, which is desperation for relationships. A pick-me is always overeager to be in a relationship and even compensates on their standards and boundaries just to be next to a man. I believe this characteristic is easier to detect than others. This particular woman is always linked to a man, whether he's of good character or not. Even if the red flags are slapping her in her face, she's always going to stick by her man. She'll always have an excuse for his actions. She'll accept so much disrespect just to say to her friends that I have a man. And when she's not in a relationship, you're going to find that your friend is depressed. Your pick-me friend is going to be super depressed, and she's going to always express how sad she is that she doesn't have a man. She will even insert herself in another woman's relationship as a side chick, just so that she can say she has the attention of a man. So I say that desperation for relationships is one of the easier characteristics to spot because I want to see it in the Pick-Mes behavior. They're never really going to try to bond with you, have a good time with you, go out with you, unless they know men are going to be present. Everything about their core is for a man, with a man. Quality time with her friends is really not a big interest to her. And even if you manage to get her out with just you and her, you're going to find she's going to be distracted, always on her phone or trying to connect with a man. She has centered men around her existence. And you're going to find she's going to be bored or inattentive when there's no men around. And you're often going to find that a lot of the communications that you have with her, a lot of the conversations that you have with this particular woman is centered around men. Even if it's just complaining about them, men will be the focal point. If she does complain, all of that complaining that she does is totally irrelevant, in one ear, out the other, because she's never going to acknowledge truly her concerns. She's always going to engage with the man, regardless of the garbage he gives her. If you even try to sympathize with her and talk to her and tell her to choose self, she may agree with you for the moment, or she may even defend him, but she's not going to take the advice. Okay, so let's skip over to characteristic number 9, which is self-deprecation. Pick-Mes often engage in self-deprecating humor or comments about themselves, hoping that they may come off as more endearing to the male gaze. You'll often hear her say things like, women aren't as smart as men, or men have it harder in society, so women need to do X, Y, and Z to appease them. They have this tendency to downplay their contributions or the contributions of other women to ensure that men stay uplifted. Now, don't think there's anything wrong with uplifting men. There's just ways that you can do it without demeaning yourself. The way in which Pick-Mes typically uplift men is to liken themselves to peasants while stroking a man's ego and positioning them as kings. These women love to say men don't care about women's accomplishments and accolades. Like, men just care about being respected. So you just have to give respect to men. As if your accomplishments and your accolades don't make up who you are. That's a part of you. Your drive, your tenacity, your go-getting energy is a part of you. And a man that you're with should care about those things. But Pick-Mes don't think that's important because they believe men don't think that it's important. So they put all that stuff that makes them them, that makes them unique, in the back seat because they're trying to appease men. They remove everything that contributes to their identity just to cater to the ego of men. This shows how extremely male-identified they are, and their mere existence is tied to a man. Okay, so we've made it to 10. This is the 10th characteristic of a Pick-Me, and that is attention-seeking behavior. Pick-Mes act in ways that draws attention to themselves, even if it goes against their true personality. This is your friend that as soon as a man walks into a room, they start sticking out their chest and their butt just to get the attention from that man. Like, even before you see the man with your own eyes, you know that man is near because your friend's whole stance and voice changes to adjust to the male gaze. It's noticeable. She'll put on a baby voice, even if her normal voice is like raw digga. They may even get louder so that they attract the male gaze. They laugh more, they get louder, even if no joke was told. Even if there's nothing hilarious to be laughing about, you're going to be hearing the and looking around to see if they captured that male gaze. It's embarrassing, but this is the action of a Pick-Me. Like, out of nowhere, you just see her twerking and twerking and twerking, and you're looking like, girl, there's no music playing. What are you doing? Okay, I'm kind of exaggerating, but you know what I'm saying? Like, their attention-seeking behavior is just, it's a bit much. It's just a bit much. Okay, so we got all the way to 10, but I'm going to throw in a bonus one because I think this is very important. So, the 11th characteristic of a pick-me is competing with other women. Pick-mes often see women as rivals, and they are not, again, competing or trying to outdo that woman just to get favor. This characteristic is super important to note because it can become very dangerous to the unknowing friend when you have a friend with this mentality. Now, let me preface this by saying, having a friend, an authentic friendship, is super, super powerful. Authentic friendships between women create such a sacred space. Women that have a genuine friendship, they share everything and anything with their friend. It's like having a human diary. They share what they're confident about. They share what they're insecure about. They share what they love. They share what they hate. They share their medical issues. They share problems at work, problems with family members. They share everything because this person has presented a safe space. Friendship, authentic friendship, especially between women, is just such a rich space to be in. Now, why I say competing with other women is a very dangerous characteristic to have, because everything that was shared in that sacred space is a target, is used as ammunition against that unknowing friend by the pick-me when things start to go awry. And even if things are perfect, it can be used as ammunition. You can find that pick-mes will discuss intimate details that were shared in that space in public situations. Now, another trait of competing with other women is SWF. I'm not sure if you have or have not, and if you have not, I want you to do it, but I need you to watch Single White Female. That movie is classic. Pick-mes often co-opt identities. Pick-mes that compete with other women co-opt identities. It would not be strange, abnormal for them to show up at a gathering dressed like you, acting like you, talking like you, walking like you, sharing ideas that you talked about in private and presenting it in front of other people as if it was her own ideas. She will make you out to be the one in competition with her, when it is she that is in competition with you. And because she's competing with you, every setback that you experience and share with her is confirmation for her that she is better than you. She's secretly happy and rejoicing that you're experiencing a setback. Now, when things are good for you and things are happening in the way that you want it to happen, she'll be silent. She won't show up for you. Or worse, she'll pretend to be happy, but you can kind of tell. You can tell that it's not genuine. It's not authentic. The male identified pick-me is often seen in those for my man stories, setting up another woman on her man's order. Competing with other women is a super dangerous trait that pick-mes have, and you need to look out for. Now, those are the 10 basic, plus a bonus, characteristics of a pick-me, but they're definitely not the least. However, I think it's super important that I presented that as a basic guidelines of what to look out for when you're trying to identify if you have a pick-me in your circle. The pick-me women are detrimental to other women, whether it be your mom, your sister, your friend, your auntie, your boss. These women's male-identified personality is meant to devalue your womanhood, your contributions, and your existence. This can put you in a very compromising situation that lowers your quality of life and permits you from fully living in your whole self. The Pick-Me is a danger to womanhood. So I provided some really good characteristics to pinpoint if you have a Pick-Me within your fold. But if you're still having a hard time determining whether you have a Pick-Me friend or not, I want you to consider the Aries archetype. Now, through my astrological observation, I noticed that the Pick-Me shares a lot of characteristics with the unevolved Aries archetype. Now, this is not to say that all Aries are Pick-Mes, but they do share the same characteristics. Okay, so I'm telling you from now, so consider this my disclaimer. I am not saying that all Aries are Pick-Mes. It would be irresponsible for one to go around and label Pick-Mes and Aries as synonymous, because that is simply untrue, and believe me, there is so much more to reading a chart and identifying an individual's identity and characteristics. Furthermore, there's a lot of planetary influence, planetary aspects, and zodiac energy that goes into identifying a person's personality that can culminate into Pick-Me behavior. But for simplicity's sake, we're going to look at the Aries archetype, as Pick-Mes share a lot of similarities when it comes to that particular archetype, especially if it's the unevolved Aries persona. So let's get into it. So if we look at the Aries basic archetype, it is very masculine, not in the gender sense, but in an energy sense. Both men and women share both feminine and masculine energy, astrologically speaking. But the Aries archetype leans more to the masculine energy. Aries basic archetypal energy is very masculine, it's very competitive, it's very me first, it's very acting now, thinking later, acting without considering the risk. Now, with all signs, there's different levels of evolution. Now, when it comes to the Aries, an unevolved Aries, it can manifest in ways such as being over competitive to the point of war, me first, rage, jealousy, mental games in order to sabotage. Aries rules the head and is very, very, very smart. They make a very smart opponent. Every interaction can become a blood sport with an unevolved Aries. Aries can easily see other people as targets. Aries in astrology, the symbol of Aries, it's the ram head. Have you ever watched a ram in action and studied their nature? A ram is a male sheep, and they're very good at living amongst a brotherhood and peace. They operate within a hierarchy when it comes to like age and size, and they usually respect this hierarchy for the most part. But how about you, female sheep, enter the equation? That brotherhood, that unity, that peace gets thrown out the window with the quickness, especially during mating season. The rams that were so tight and living in peace and living in brotherhood will automatically start ramming each other, charging at their fellow brothers just to get a chance to mate with that female sheep, that ewe. The rams will charge with such force, causing bodily injury, even death, just to satisfy that female gaze. In similar fashion, a Pick-Me can make a great addition to sisterhood. But once the male gaze enters the chat, they will turn on their sister, just so that they can capture the male gaze. Outside of mating season, the ram protects the opposite sex, which makes them, Aries, the soldier archetype. And the Pick-Mes are the soldiers for men. So to simplify, the Rams are the Pick-Mes. The brotherhood that the Rams share is the unassuming friend. And the U's are the male gaze. I hope you catch the correlation. Let's continue. So we're going to discuss the charts of a few celebrities that have committed some Pick-Me offenses, and we're going to correlate it to the Aries archetype. So the first person we're going to discuss is Ari Lennox. Now, I love her, so don't shoot me, but she committed a Pick-Me offense, and we got to discuss it. So let's go. So after Kobe Bryant's untimely death, Gayle King interviewed his dear friend Lisa Leslie, and Gayle brought up Kobe's past. She brought up his sexual assault case that happened a while ago. Because of this, Gayle was treated to misogynistic attacks that were not only denigrating, but threatening to her life. But what's weird about what Gayle received, the attacks that she received, is that Charles Barkley also brought up Kobe Bryant's past. He mentioned that it was part of Kobe's legacy and that everything should be spoken about in its totality, but he did not receive the same vitriol that Gayle King received. Misogyny much? Alright, let me continue. The name calling and threats towards Gayle King was so vile, it was so disgusting. So when Ari decided to speak on it, I was like, okay, there's a glimmer of hope. A woman is coming to another woman's aid. But I was so friggin' wrong. It was quite the opposite. Ari made a video joining in on the verbal beatdown and dragging Oprah into it, and just piled mad toxicity on both Oprah and Gayle's name. She referred to Gayle and Oprah as self-hating POS, F-asses, and coons, and sprinkled a little bit of ageism by implying that they're delusional because of their age. She accused Gayle and Oprah for ruining the legacy and reputation of all Black men. She actually, she went in. I was like, girl, I love you. What you doing? What are you doing? And although Ari didn't specify which Black men she was referring to, everybody, her audience, assumed she was talking about Bill Cosby and Russell Simmons, who were both accused of sexual assault. Now, the fans were not here for it. They thought she was being dismissive of the experiences and traumas that women, victims, go through. When she was asked why she felt the need to jump in and tear down women, even though when she was defending Kobe, people stayed silent, men stayed silent, even men joined in on dragging her. And when she asked, why did you do that? Her response was, she will defend men even if they don't defend her. Okay, girl. So here we're going to cite Ari under Section 1 of the Pick-Me Guidelines, seeking validation. Ari was seeking validation from a group of people that often disrespected her appearance, calling her a bulldog, and providing no defense for her, all while she was defending their honor. Also going to cite Ari under Section 3, which is performative actions. Ari was engaged in performative action when she decided to get on her soapbox, aka Instagram Live, and silence Gayle's acknowledgement of Kobe's colored past. Lastly, but not least, we're going to cite Ari under Section 4, downplaying other women. When Ari decided to address Gail and include Oprah, she did not stick to the matter at hand. She did not stick to the concerns. Instead, she decided to insult both Oprah and Gail by sprinkling in ageism, indicating that because they were grown, they were delusional. The downplaying of these powerful women is typical pick-me behavior. So now let's take a little peek into Ari's birth chart and talk about a few things. Now, Ari has her Sun in Aries trines her Jupiter in Leo in earlier degrees, so it's in the first second, meaning she embodies the archetype of both signs. Now, I want to add that I personally love Ari. I feel like in interviews, she comes off as very good natured. She has like this childlike innocence and optimism, which is very indicative of this placement. Now, with that said, Jupiter here expands her Sun energy. So that competitive nature is evident. She passionately expresses her beliefs, and sometimes she takes big risks without really considering the ramification of said risks. Now let's throw in her Saturn in Aquarius, which is sextile her Sun and opposed her Jupiter. Now with Saturn in Aquarius sextile her Sun in Aries, she's really good at taking a back seat for those she deems as in authority or the patriarchal beings. She's also very comfortable assuming responsibility when it comes to ensuring that the patriarchy ideals are intact. She's very comfortable with the rules and traditions set out by the patriarchy, and this is going to benefit her because we live in a patriarchy. Now, if anyone, especially women, should challenge the patriarchy, she's not afraid to enter into fight mode to defend it. Jupiter trine Sun, she's a natural at that. Even if those that are privileged by the patriarchy should disparage her, she's still going to continue to defend it because she deems them, the system, as above her, as the authority. Now, I want to add that throughout Ari's rant, she kept saying, I might get canceled, I might get canceled, which indicates that she jumps ahead without thorough consideration of her actions. And I say that because the aftermath may have been too much for Ari or more than she expected, because shortly after, she started to rebrand herself. And I believe that her rant may have precipitated an evolution for her, which could be good for her, which gives her time to reflect. Okay, so let's get into our next celebrity that exhibited pick-me behavior, and that's going to be Cardi B. Cardi B has a few pick-me offenses that we can choose from, but for the sake of the video, we'll focus on one. So Cardi B is married to Offset from the Migos, and Offset is pretty known for his infidelities as much as he's known for his music. So the particular infidelity that we're going to focus on is the infidelity with Jade, and it was brought to Cardi B's attention, and she immediately started throwing threats at the girl, and the threats went on for months before Cardi B paid her friend $5,000 to attack this girl at her workplace, allegedly. Weeks after that incident, Cardi B returned to the girl's workplace, and I guess she's seen her sister, Baddie G, and attacked her, throwing bottles amongst other things, allegedly. Cardi B's action got her a bunch of charges, like a slew of them. Some of them got dropped, but others, they stuck. And I want to add that Offset did not get attacked by Cardi B, but the women did, and they remain together as a happy family. Okay. Now, a lot of behaviors were displayed during this particular altercation, but we're going to reduce the citations to just a few just so that you get the examples that I'm trying to give. We are going to cite Cardi B under Section 3, Performative Actions. After Cardi B discovered that this woman gained the attention and desires of her man, she immediately started posturing. She went on social media and she started talking her shite. She started saying how her man got hacked and that he never sent those messages. Okay. She started defending Offset, saying that he would never message her, while Offset was in the background, lying in the cut, silent as a church mouse. Okay, Cardi. Now, we're also going to cite Cardi B under Section 5, which is overemphasis on appearance. Now, over the years, we have noticed how Cardi B has shape-shifted into the person that she is today. Cardi B has gotten her teeth done, face done, body done, everything done. Cardi B is the woman that is highly focused on her appearance, hoping that it will gain and maintain the affections of her man. So moving on, Cardi B will also be cited under Section 8, which is insecurity. Cardi B's insecurity shines the most when she's confronted by another woman. Now, in this particular case, Cardi B was going back and forth with the woman that, caught Offset's attention. And she kept taking shots at her appearance, in particular, her face. Now, I've seen both the women. I've seen Jade and Maddie G, and they're both pretty women. So, I don't know. But it's typical of a pick-me. I mean, when a woman attacks another person's appearance, it's to position themselves as better than. It's to create an illusion or disillusion to the male that, look it, I'm better. See, look it, I called her ugly, so she's ugly. It may not be true, but that's what they want to do. That's what they're attempting to do, to position themselves as better than. But it rarely works. It's totally irrelevant because there's no denying that at one point in time that her man thought these women were desirable enough to risk it all. But why I say that Cardi B displays insecurity when it comes to her appearance is because she took direct shots at these women's faces, but then turned around and got her face fixed. So it seems like a little bit of projection on her part. Again, moving on, the next citation Cardi B is going to get falls under Section 7, which is misdirected hurt. Cardi B attacked a woman that she believed was making love sounds with her husband, but the public didn't hear about Offset being attacked by Cardi B for making moves to this woman. Actually, Cardi B defended him publicly. The incident happened like 4 years ago, and Cardi B has been charged and convicted. Even when, during the case, Offset continued to message this woman. And guess what? Cardi B is still happily married to Offset. I think it's a case of misdirected hurt. And that leads us to our next citation. Cardi B is also cited under Section 8, Desperation for a Relationship. So Offset has been the center of numerous cheating allegations, and even though Cardi B is aware of it, one thing Cardi B is not going to do is hold him accountable. Cardi B is going to stick beside him because her desperation for a relationship, her desperation to say, I got a man, fully outweighs the value or lack thereof that he places into their relationship. Now, there's a whole slew of pick-me citations that I can throw at Cardi B, but I think you get the gist. Now, let's discuss a configuration in Cardi B's birth chart. Cardi B has a major harsh aspect involving her moon in Aries. First, she has her Libra sun opposing her moon in Aries. Then she has her Mars in Cancer squaring her moon in Aries, and her Uranus and Neptune in Capricorn squaring her moon in Aries. Just knowing that her moon is in Aries shows that Cardi B is far from a damsel in distress. She's very, very competitive. Her chart would indicate that Cardi B is a type of woman that will get things done, and she does not respect any perceived weakness in other women, including herself. In other terms, giving women grace is not her forte. It's not her natural inclination. Cardi B's sun is in Libra, so she's identified through the relationships she creates and her union that she creates. And that is opposed to her Aries moon, which is opposing her alpha woman energy. So we can contend that in a relationship, Cardi B has this ongoing conflict when it comes to like owning her individual self and trying to merge identities with another person. She wants the public to view her and her person as one. And imagery is very, very important for her. Any perceived threats or affronts to the perception is swiftly going to meet with Cardi's anger, and she's going to defend it. She's going to defend the image that she created and put to the public. And usually that goes without thorough thinking. She does not thoroughly think it through. Being that she sees her partner as an extension of herself, she can't immediately fathom that he would be the source of betrayal, like he would betray her. And because of that, it's easier for her to believe that the woman is the infiltrator, the woman is the disrespecter of the relationship, and that is who's going to be attacked. This will trigger off something dirty in her, and she will attack that woman. She views this affront as a blow to her identity, and because of this, an attack will ensue. And due to the nature of the Grand Cross that's in her chart, there's no logical or grounded reason for her attacks. There's no real rationale for why she is behaving in the way that she's doing it. Like, the public can see, like, they're not the problem, he's the problem. But it's hard for her to get to that conclusion herself without a lot of work. With Mars in Cancer, the emotional aim is to fight to protect her nest, fight to protect what she's built. Now, with the Neptune and Uranus conjunction making the harsh aspect to her already martial moon, she tends to initially charge forward behind a foggy cloud of erratic perceptions. And the erraticism boosts her rage when it comes to attacking the other woman, deemed admirable in the eyes of her lover. Like the thought that her man could be so attracted to another woman to where he will betray the relationship makes the other woman a great opponent. In her eyes, that woman is the ops. Not her man. The woman's the ops. The woman disrespects the relationship, not her man. She sees red and she takes a shoot first stance against the femme target. The energy is very overreactive, and all that challenging energy going towards her moon makes her have even more harsher expectations and reactions towards the woman, even though the main offender is typically her man. Through her naivete, it's hard for her to fathom that the person who she trusted, who should be protecting her and the state of their relationship, is the one that actually betrayed her, the one that left her unprotected. And she finds it easier to attack the woman, posturing against the woman, and proving her self-worth towards the man that disrespected her. Now, moving on from Cardi B, we're going to move on to our last offender, which is Summer Walker. And like Cardi B, Summer Walker is a serial pick-me offender. Woo! Summer Walker is crazy with it. I like the girl. The girl is beautiful. She has a soothing voice. But homegirl is a grand dame pick-me. Like, off the top of my head, I can list at least 3 times she was posturing for the male gaze. Number 1 is when she interjected herself into the custody battle that was going on, or the child support battle that was going on between Future and Eliza. Now, we all know that Future is community peen. He enjoys impregnating women and leaving them with his legacy to raise without contribution from him. Future is cancerous to a holistic society because he's intentionally creating children without the intention of contributing to their emotional or financial wherewithal. To me, that's the epitome of disgusting, but Summer Walker had the nerve to refer to Eliza as disgusting for seeking child support for her and Future's child. To me, this was appalling coming from a woman that also has a child from community peen. It's just so contradictory. So the second time that Summer Walker committed a pick-me offense is when she decided to break up with both of her children's father and date Little Meech, and Little Meech came to Toronto. And this girl, Anissa Ali Abdu, a Rexville girl, big up to Rexville, caught his eye. Cute girl. So boom, Summer Walker reaches out to the girl, and then the girl denies her interactions with Little Meech. Now, Little Meech wasn't smart enough to leave well enough alone. He decided to get on the gram, denigrate the girl, call the girl ugly, and just talk shit, right? So the girl came back to the gram with receipts, saying, listen, I only lied because he asked me to. He said he was going to pay me, but boom, we did interact. So now, instead of Summer Walker pressing her man, like, why are you with this girl? Why are you disrespecting our relationship? She starts to target the girl, even taking my man pictures to posture for the girl and posture for the internet. Anyways, the third time that Summer Walker decided to commit a pick-me offense is with Jada Wada. So Summer Walker and Little Meech breaks up, no surprise. But instead of Summer Walker deciding to stay quiet and begin her healing process, she decided to come to the gram again and now to break up to the world while shaming another woman. Summer Walker decided to post, can't do this cheating stuff, which is fine, right? But no, she had to add, tried my best to be Jada Wada, but I couldn't. Now, why do you have to shame another woman because of the demise of your relationship? Summer Walker has so many pick-me offenses, but for the sake of the video, we're going to stop here. So first, we're going to cite Summer Walker under Section 1, Seeking Validation. Eliza Reign and Future's custody or child support battle had zero to do with Summer Walker, but she decided to chime in anyway to seek the attention of the male gaze. Announcing that the amount that Eliza was seeking for child support was disgusting was simply a catcall for the male gaze. It was like Summer Walker was like, hoo-hoo, I wouldn't seek child support forgoing the financial needs of her child to appease the man. It's positioning herself as, I'm better than. She put out her Batman call to all the dusty, rusty men saying, come to me. If we have a child together, I'll never get child support. I'll never seek child support. I'll never put you in that position to support your own child. Seeking validation. Now, some people that may not be Pick-Mes may say that Eliza's request for a certain amount of money may have been excessive, but we're not in Future's pockets. And the courts are the ones that outline how much a child should need from a particular parent. If you have the funds and you live that lifestyle, why wouldn't you naturally want your child to have the best? It's not up for us. So for Summer Walker to chime in and label her as disgusting to getting financial support for her child, to me, that's disgusting. And it's typical Pick-Me behavior. I believe children deserve to be supported. And I believe that a woman advocating for her child and the financial support of her child is admirable. I believe another woman shitting on another woman for doing so is actually disgusting behavior. But a Pick-Me will never see it like that. But anyways, we're going to move forward and cite Summer Walker under another Pick-Me offense, and that is Section 2, downplaying other women. Now, we know that Summer Walker tried to downplay Eliza by calling her disgusting, but she also tried to downplay Anissa by calling her weird simply because Little Meech fancied her. Then she tried to downplay Jada Wada by implying that Jada Wada stuck it out with a man even though he cheated and disrespected her, and she tried to do the same, but it wasn't for her. Summer Walker would have tried to do the same regardless of Jada Wada, so her throwing and trying to downplay Jada was just her trying to take the attention off of her relationship, off of her bad choices. The reality is Jada did nothing to Summer Walker. Summer Walker was just ashamed because she tried to stick it out with Little Meech through all the cheating allegations. But Little Meech did what we knew he was going to do. He was going to do it again because she accepted it the first time. He knew she would accept it because she already demonstrated that she would before. She was embarrassed by her decision to accept the bullshit he was giving her and stay. And because she was so embarrassed, she figured, listen, let me drag this woman into it and get the attention on her. But it backfired because everybody was on Summer's case. We knew what she was doing, but she didn't think it out thoroughly. Summer Walker can easily be cited under so many Pick-Me offenses: performative action, insecurity, seeking validation, misdirected hurt, desperation for relationships, competing with other women. Summer Walker would be one of those Pick-Me friends that would be easy to spot within a friend circle. Anyways, let's go to her chart and check it out. Summer Walker has her sun in Aries and it squared her moon in Capricorn. So there's tension there. The sun-moon square aspect signifies that Summer Walker has a great need for an emotionally supportive relationship and to be respected as an individual and the independence that comes along with that. Now, the native with this aspect can be feisty, but don't be surprised if you find them in a relationship being submissive. It's natural for them to give up part of their power to appease their partner. However, because they really want to keep the power for themselves, you can find them over time becoming resentful of themselves and their partner. And because this aspect attracts external events, you can see the struggles play out in their relationships publicly. You can see her struggles with her relationships. You can see her struggles with other women. She's often at odds with the needs of other women, including herself. And the needs typically have to do with how women feel secured and protected and emotionally safe. Now we know that Summer Walker's sun is in Aries, So she has a natural inclination to always want to be number one, always wanting to be better than, as she positions herself as superior, even at the expense of her femininity and the femininity of other women. In her earlier years, she may have been the outcast. So for her, it's natural for her to seek approval, validation, and acceptance from others. So she'll go through extremes, and she'll get on her soapbox hoping that she gets that validation, hoping that she gets that acceptance, and hoping that it positions her to be better than the typical. But because in Pick-Me fashion, she is very self-deprecating about it, she never fully gets what she wants. She never fully gets what she needs. When the Sun Square Moon person decides to assert their needs and assert themselves and declare what they want from their partner, and their partner falls short, they suffer injury to their self-esteem. Because her Sun is in an extroverted sign, in a masculine energy, in an attack, or let's go to ward archetype, she often finds women to attack. Extroverted signs, they externalize or they project, while introverted signs, they internalize, they retrospect. A woman with her Sun Square Moon can become very belligerent towards other women, towards the needs of women, which causes them to find it super hard to build meaningful, authentic relationships with women. You're never going to win when you have a pick-me in your circle. They will stifle your opportunities, turn you into competition when you're simply seeking sisterhood, and present you in dangerous situations simply for the male gaze. You gotta let these types go and self-destruct on their own. The sooner you leave their spaces and rid them from your space, you're gonna begin to flourish. Pick-mes never prosper, and you deserve to have a prosperous life. So, thanks for sticking with me to the end of this video. Do what you have to do to refine your friend group. Pick the weeds out and be your best self. Sisterhood is so important. And once you find your tribe, you're going to see how divine it is. You're going to see how abundance starts to just flow naturally to you. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and share your experiences of your Pick-Me friends and how you freed yourself from it. Now I'm signing off. Now flow with the energy and take every opportunity and blessing the universe has in store for you. Peace and prosperity to you, and we'll chat soon.